The Suzuka GP is the first test in tyre management this year. We should see a lot going on this weekend, and in this video we'll be covering what we expect to happen for the remainder of the weekend. Suzuka is a highly technical circuit with lots of technical corners. You have the Degners, you have Spoon Curve, 130R, and the famous S's. With all these technical parts of the circuit, it is crucial to maintain your tires, as tire life will be the deciding factor of how fast your times can be. We know from the past two Grand Prix that the Mercedes seems to be the clear pick in terms of tire management, in terms of straight line speed and even cornering. It's going to be a hard ask for anybody to beat them. Currently, after free practice 1 and 2, we notice that the best opportunity to beat Mercedes currently lies with Ferrari and McLaren. In free practice 1, the Mercedes, McLaren and Ferrari followed all in that order, all within about 3.5 tenths of one another. And in free practice 2, the McLaren topped the charts, then the Mercedes, followed by the Ferraris, all within about 8.5 tenths of each other. This shows that McLaren might have made a bit of a step forward, especially if we take a look at their front wing here. Look at the cutout, look at that slant on the dive plane, which most teams have copied from here. So McLaren looks like they do have a very developed front wing, and I think it's showing in their performance thus far in Japan. They seem to be very close. I'm not sure if in the race they'd be able to stay as close, but right now they do seem to have a shot at qualifying. And around a circuit like Japan, where it's extremely hard to pass, the overtaking ability of the circuit is very low. If McLaren finds themselves higher up on the grid, and possibly with a chance to work together, they have a good chance at a podium, possibly even winning the race. Mercedes had a good performance in practice, and obviously they are the strongest car. You saw them in free practice 2. George was about 2 tenths off, and Antonelli, if we round it up, he was about a tenth off of Piastri's time. In free practice 1, they were about 1.5 seconds clear of Norris, who was in third. This shows that the Mercedes clearly still has the pace. Even in free practice 1, both George and Kimi did longer stints than the Ferraris and the McLarens. The McLarens, Lando did about 20 laps and Oscar 23, and Leclerc 25 and Hamilton 23 laps. So Mercedes was probably testing out their car a lot, trying to find a more optimal setup, and it seems like they do have quite an optimal setup here. So once again, Mercedes are the clear front runners, the clear favorites, but there are still opportunities for the McLaren and the Ferrari here. Ferrari also did a very intelligent thing here. You can see they put a front brake duct upgrade for this race. It's just to allow for a little bit cooling, because Japan is a very tire intensive circuit, especially on that front left tire. On that front left tire, we find a lot of graining because of the loading that goes onto that specific tire because of the intense corners. But from what we can deduce in the practice, Ferrari is competitive, maybe slightly behind even the McLaren at this point in time. Maybe just McLaren has found a bit of a more optimized setup than Ferrari for now. That's why we see them ahead. It probably won't stay this way, and obviously they're still behind the Mercedes. But the opportunities are there if they can find a way to qualify higher than them. Both Charles and Lewis working together, they have an opportunity for a podium and even to win the race. If we look a bit lower down the field, we see Audi actually as a standout here. Nico Hülkenberg placed 7th, about 1.3 seconds off. He beat the Haas, he beat the Red Bulls, he beat the Williams, he beat the Alpines, all in practice 2. And in practice 1, we had both Gabby and Nico placing in 11th and 12th, all within quite a close range. Max was the top of the midfield. Even sounds strange just saying that. Still haven't got used to this, but Max was about 8 tenths off, and Bortoleto was a second off. So it shows that Audi is actually very competitive here, and it does make sense because if we look back at the apex speed distribution, that means how fast they were basically rounding the corner, Audi actually placed 4th in China. So that just shows you just how well Audi's car is able to handle the corners and carry speed through the corners. So Audi, yeah, it's a very good opportunity for them to possibly score points as well. You can see here from the pace distribution that they seriously have an opportunity. And judging by free practice, it seems like this track is quite agreeable with their car. Since we were speaking about Red Bull, let's just keep this going. So Max, like I said, he was 7th and he was basically best of the rest in free practice. This shows that the Red Bull is not exactly where it needs to be. We know from China their car was overweight. Isaac Hadjar's car measured about 19 kilograms overweight from the FIA's minimum. So Red Bull, the problem with a heavy car here in Suzuka is that the heavy car just, not only is it not able to distribute its weight properly around the corner, thus making it slower, but also the heavier the car is, the more stress goes onto the tire, and then the tire grains and you're not able to get good times. You have a very big problem in Suzuka, especially if you have a heavy car. The car being lighter will be easier to turn, and the stiffer your front wing as well, it allows the car to turn easier. The problem with the heavier car is the way the car turns, it forces the tires to turn more for you to make the corner, thereby taking more energy out of it and graining it more and making you slower ultimately. Red Bull, yeah, Max seems ahead. Hadjar seems a bit behind. He seems in practice 2, Max was 1.3 seconds off, Hadjar was 1.6. Bit of an improvement from practice 1 for Hadjar, but you know, they placed 10th and 15th, which is probably around where they are going to be anyways. They are probably going to try to fight in for the final points paying positions. It looks like the Haas is definitely going to be there. Racing Bulls was there in both sessions as well, and the Audis of course look very fast. So yeah, Red Bull doesn't look great at the moment, but chance for points, I guess. Might be a bit of a disappointment with them because they did upgrade their front wing for this Grand Prix weekend, and yet they are still nowhere in sight really. You know, Red Bull doesn't want to be the team that's competing with Haas and Alpine, but this is where they find themselves at the moment. If we talk a bit about the Haas, practice 2, Behrman and Ocon both 1.3 seconds, 1.3, 1.4. So really close, well in the mix there. We saw Ocon as well. He was about 1 second off, 9/10 off in practice 1. So the Haas is definitely in a position to compete, in a position for points. You can see their car is very good on the corners. So yeah, we should see Haas coming to the party this weekend for the lower half of the points. Racing Bulls also well within it. Practice 1, both of them within a second, and practice 2, Lawson was 1.4 seconds off. So Racing Bulls as well, showing that they're well in the mix. They revised their front wings. I don't think it's really an upgrade, but they revised it, and it shows that they're still more or less where they were, and they are still competitive with the field. Williams appears to have made a jump. We all know this season they've been struggling, but we see here Albon placed 8th, 1.3 seconds behind, just behind Nico Hülkenberg actually. And Carlos Sainz was 1.4 seconds behind in 13th. So it seems that Williams have found something. It could also be possible that maybe they were just finding a bit more of an optimized setup quicker than the other teams during this weekend. But Williams actually looks like they're moving up a bit in the field. They were previously not really fast enough to compete with the midfielders, but it seems like they're making slow progression, but they look a bit more positive this weekend. Alpine did some correcting with their aerodynamics. I don't know if it's worked necessarily. After practice 2, they placed 14th and 18th, 1.6 and 2.3 seconds behind. Yeah, that's not very good, but let's see how they go in the race. I think it's still a bit too early to judge them. Yeah, Alpine, they should be all right. They've been all right. Now let's talk about who to watch for the Grand Prix win here. Currently, all 6 drivers who are at the top: Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, all have a good opportunity to win here. Once again, the Mercedes are the favorite. Probably George and Kimi, one of the two. George, obviously the more experienced one, would bet his money on him for the race win. But Ferrari and McLaren, with good qualifying, once again, due to the low overtaking nature of the track, both have opportunities to win. It's anybody's pick right now on who could win. So just for that, seems like a sweet time to throw in my predictions here. Here are my predictions of the top 5 for the Japanese GP this weekend. In 5th position, I'm going with Oscar Piastri. I just think Oscar hasn't had much time with this car in race conditions this year. Who is this guy? So that's why I'm putting him in P5. I think he does look comfortable this weekend, so I think he'll be P5. I think the McLaren will finish the race this time. In P4, I'm going with Charles Leclerc. I think he's going to be a bit of a sacrificial Ferrari, really. I don't think he's going to have the pace to keep up with the top 3. And the Ferrari does look reliable. I think they both will finish. And yeah, I just think this should already give you a hint that I'm going to place Lewis higher. But yeah, I just think Charles is not going to be extremely quick here. I think he's going to be 4th. In 3rd position, I'm actually placing Kimi Antonelli. I think Kimi will be there or thereabouts. I think he's going to struggle in terms of his qualifying. I don't think he's going to qualify too well. I think the Ferraris are probably going to get in between him and cause his race. He's going to find some tire graining and so on. He's still very young, inexperienced, can't hold it against him, but I think it's going to be P3 for Kimi. In 2nd, I've got Lewis Hamilton. I think Ferrari is probably going to play a bit of teamwork here. I anticipate to get ahead of Kimi, hold up Kimi a bit, cause Kimi's race effectively, and Lewis will get 2nd position. I don't think he's going to be quick enough to compete with the winner, who's George Russell. Let me just say it now. I don't think he's going to be quick enough to compare with George. I think George will win, Lewis 2nd, Kimi 3rd, Charles in 4th, and Oscar in 5th. That would be my top 5 predictions. Yeah, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and see you guys for the qualifying and race.